Hey guys, it's Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. I've noticed a lot of talking around each other on Twitter. This happens a lot, where there'll be like passive-aggressive comments that are intended for somebody to hear or intended to be about somebody, but it's not clear exactly. So everybody thinks it's about themselves, and there's all sorts of problems. Anyway, there's been a lot of that going on, and this is some of it. Brett Booth is, I don't have a problem with the guy. I don't really know much about him, honestly, but I do see a lot of non-business thinking that comes out, and he's been saying a lot of stuff. So I wanted to sort of counter some of it. Don't reach out or contact him or anything like that. But there are a few of these things that are just, I think they're wrong. But they're also important to talk about. These are important things to talk about, which is why you have so many people with YouTube channels talking about them. This is why you have so many people on Twitter talking about these kinds of things. And specifically, it's the business model of comics and what works and what doesn't work. I looked through several of Brett Booth's tweets today because he has seemed to be thinking about it quite a bit. And so here's one. I'm not going to say this started it off, but this is one I think that encapsulates the problem. So Brett says, spout a bunch of business catchphrases at me. If your business model worked, Marvel and DC would be utilizing it. They have 80 years of books they can reprint for cheap. I asked for numbers and we're expanding. Okay. Well, numbers, sales numbers. He's right. Marvel and DC have a ton of issues. They could reprint. I'll be honest. I think they should reprint. I think it'd be awesome to be able to get some of the older stuff. I know it's out there. Like, you can get it. If they were reprinting it in floppy format, that would be pretty cool. I might be down with that. Actually, I would not mind getting a full reprinted single issue run of Frank Miller's run on Daredevil. I'd like to get that in single floppies. I don't have it. I'd like to, though. They could reprint that, and I would buy every issue. The problem has to do with times changing, and so I know that they don't want to reprint a lot of that kind of stuff. They also, I don't know, they don't see the value in it. I don't know. They would certainly sell things, though. They would. And of course they do, because they have done reprinting in other formats. You can buy trades of all sorts of stuff that's been reprinted a lot of times. The problem here, though, is your business model. If your business model worked, Marvel and DC would be utilizing it. If Marvel and DC were using something that worked, they would be making a lot more money than they are right now. The model that they're using right now is out of date. They know it's out of date. This is why DC has been tightening its belt. This is why Marvel has been spewing out so many titles to just saturate the market with. They know that this is a hard time for comics, that things are changing. If they were doing something that worked, then we wouldn't even be having this discussion. What they are doing is not working. Something is not working. So I looked through a bunch of this, and a lot of it actually seems to be aimed at Alterna comics, and I keep seeing, again, it's like passive aggressive random things because they're printing on newsprint. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If the model was so good, I know those numbers aren't accurate, but if they didn't increase in a year, but they didn't increase in a year, I don't know what that means. If that model is so good, that should not be the case. Again, I'm not seeing where are these tweets connected to. It's just not direct, and this is bothering to me. Okay, so look up a little bit more here, and crowdfunding gets brought up because crowdfunding is a way that many indie creators are making money. There's also the question of, here you go, paying talent. This is not Brett Booth. This is Jess Ruffner Booth. Again, don't contact anybody. This is just to look at its public record, where it's public information. We're looking at it. Okay, so here's a little thread here about paying creators and how it works. Okay, I looked at their site. I'm assuming this is about Alterna Comics. That's what it sounds like. I looked at their site. This is not a business model that would work for WFH books. They want you to fund your book via crowdfunding first. Essentially, that would be DC asking Brett to raise money to pay himself to do work for hire for them. I cannot imagine anyone doing that. Here's the thing. If you crowdfund a project first, crowdfunding it's a really different experience. It's different, especially if you can get the book done ahead of time. And so people are confident that they're going to get it quickly. If you crowdfund something, it's exciting. You're connected with your audience directly. You can give them something special in a limited print run that they're getting. And you can actually make all of your money back, all of the time that you spent in. You can make your page rate, whatever you want. You can make that back right off the bat. And then you can send it through the direct market and you can sell it to more people that are just going to show up in stores and buy it perhaps. And all of that is going to be gravy. You're essentially double dipping. You sold the book once and you've paid for your time, and now you've got a book to sell, and you can get that out to more people in a different format. Now the exact price, I don't know what all the exact prices should be. I do know that there has to be profit margin, but I also know that customers have to be able to want to take a chance on it. I went to my local comic shop just recently, and you look at things that you want to get and you're really limited. I'm like limited. It's like, well, I guess I can buy 2 issues. 2 issues is all I can get because it's too expensive. I've got like mouths to feed. I've got children. I can't be spending. In one case, it's one book I want to give. It was $8 for a floppy. It's just mass printed. I don't know what their cost was on it, but it's not something that really works currently. And the proof of that is that it's not working. Sales are going down. People are struggling. People are having a hard time finding work in comics, talented people. So something's already not working. But I will say this, Jess is right in that you have to do some work ahead of time. There's a risk involved if you're crowdfunding on your own. Now, if you really had something going on with a publisher and, they were willing to, pay you something or do promotion, the truth is, I don't know that there's a lot of publishers out there that could do crowdfunding right. They probably could if they put the effort into it, but they're not. The people that are really succeeding at crowdfunding are the ones that are succeeding in reaching out to their audience and talking to them. So we'll continue down here a little bit. Jess continues. That is also why they charge $1.50 for a book. The talent has presumably already been paid via crowdfunding. They're acting as a distributor, which just proves the point that you can't pay talent by charging $1.50. This model won't work for DC or Marvel. And then an apple and an orange. Well, the thing is, getting paid like a career, like a not just a living wage, but like a good wage, a good full-time wage, those are 2 different things. You can get paid to do all sorts of things. If you want to get your foot in the door in comics, do you think that DC is going to reach out to you and give you a shot if you've never published anything? If you're new into comics, you have got to prove yourself. You've got to do some things in order to get your name out there, to get your stories read, to build an audience. That's all the kind of stuff that DC and Marvel want to see first, before they'll even look at you. Maybe if you're a super artist or somehow you've proven that you're just the best writer ever, but the chances are the way that you prove that is by building an audience. That's why they're hiring people off of Tumblr. They've effectively been able to get enough exposure and enough eyeballs on them that they can prove that they can do something in social media. That makes you extremely valuable in comics, and that has nothing to do with the art. Probably a little bit. Being a good artist is going to help you. It'll help you build an audience for sure, but you got to be putting yourself out there. You got to be working. This is a business. So how do you get money? How do creators get money off $1.50? I don't know all the breakdowns, but I do know the goal is you sell a lot of books. You got to get your name out there. Now, making money, again, is not the same as making Marvel money or like DC money, like been in the industry for years kind of money. You have to start somewhere. It's why there are part-time jobs working, at McDonald's. If you work at McDonald's, that's not generally where you're going to be spending your entire career. Most people are starting at McDonald's because they're starting. You're starting somewhere, you're gaining experience, you're building your resume. Same thing in comics. You got to find a place to start and build your resume if you're planning on being there for a long time. Or you could just do it yourself. You don't really need anything. You could just continue to do it yourself and sell books and make a name for yourself. And it doesn't really matter what Marvel or DC thinks. I'll tell you this, with Downcast, we've made close to 28 grand so far on the book. That's enough to pay all of us good rates, really good rates, really pro rates off a book. And I think it's only going to get better the next time we launch, and you can reprint however you want. You can do this however you want. But to say that it's just not viable, or that you're not going to be able to pay talent, it's such small thinking. You can pay talent, but you got to have sales to pay the talent. It's all about sales. It's not about a single issue and how much you make on a single issue. It's how many sales can you drive. That's the way that the world works in every single business anywhere. You have to be selling stuff. You can't just expect to get paid because you're a good artist or a good writer. It's beyond that. You have to be a good artist or a good writer that can sell books. And however you do that, if it's just because you are such a good artist that everybody wants to buy your stuff, that is great. That's fantastic. But you could be an amazing artist and nobody cares about you. There's just, your art is missing whatever that thing is, that marketability, and no one's going to buy it. And then what are you worth? It has less to do with the time that you put into it. It has more to do with the money that you're bringing in. That's important. Okay, here again. Marvel and DC have to change or they have to charge more because they pay the talent. Other publishers pay the talent too. They pay the talent. It's just how much are they paying the talent? And how much is the company taking? And how many books are they planning on selling? They've already put a cap on the market. They've decided they can only sell to so many people, and so they're just going to milk that little group as much as they possibly can. Next tweet here from Jess. Expecting the talent to actually crowdfund their own page rate. Oh, man. I don't even have words. I would physically assault someone if they even suggested that to me. Depends. I'm trying to think. Again, I don't want to write for Marvel or DC. If I had the chance to write a Ninja Turtles comic book, I'll even tell you this. I would love to write a Cyberfrog book. If I could do a micro series, like just a one-shot issue that was sort of a peripheral story, I guess, with Cyberfrog in it. If I could do that, I would crowdfund the money. To do a Ninja Turtle one, I would crowdfund that money in order to pay myself and get the thing made. I would do that. Why not? That would be amazing. And then you have written it, you got paid for it. What's the problem? I don't see what the problem is here. Okay, and so here it all sums up. Jess says, so the take home from this thread is that you cannot pay the talent by charging $1.50 a book. Stop suggesting it. You can. I think you can. It's just not going to be, you're not going to be getting as much money per book, perhaps. But you have to understand, if you're a small publisher and there are fewer hands in that cookie jar, you're paying fewer people. The more people you have working on the book, the more it costs. You just have to pay more people. So that is definitely going to be a factor in all of this. But it doesn't mean that you're not getting paid. You might not be retiring anytime soon, but this is comics. If you want to retire, you've got to figure out how to sell comics one way or another. And right now crowdfunding works. It does. So I don't know. There's a lot of meandering thoughts there. I've followed a lot of this. Again, I don't have any personal problems with any of the people in this that I've been talking about. It's public record, public information, and so I'm just talking about it. How do you think comics could be made better? What do you think price points should be? I think this is worth doing a live stream. I think I'm going to do one tonight on the price of comics. I don't know the answers to this, but I can get in some smarter people than myself. And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to be doing, this is a little ad, not for my book. This is Eric Weathers' book. This is called Flying Fortress Remastered. It's a graphic novel. It's no joke. It's like thick. It's about World War II, some cool stuff. I'm going to put in the link in the description below for you to join and add to the mailing list. If you're interested in it, it looks really great. And Eric is my letterer, and he does a fantastic job. So I'm really excited to see how this book turns out. So check that out, and I'll see you next time.